Hello, you guys. Welcome back. If you are new here and you're coming for our greens powder deep dive episode, welcome. This is your first time here, and we are so happy you are here. Before we get into the episode, if this is your first time listening, we want to give you a look into who we are, why we started this podcast. So I am Allie, the person that you are going to hear talking right now. I am a health and fitness coach, and I started in about 2018, 2019. And I met Maddie, who is my lovely co-host, in about, was it 2021? I think it, I think it was 2021. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm
Technical
also blurry.
difficulties.
There we go. I'm not blurry anymore. If you were watching on YouTube, which if you aren't, you should subscribe. Yes, I was blurry for a second, but
So I met you in about 2021, I believe,
Mhm.
in a group setting for other health and fitness coaches and mentors. And immediately I was like, this person's going to be my best friend. I was like, I like her vibe.
Yeah, isn't that crazy how it feels like? I mean, it's 2024, so it
Yeah.
feels like a lifetime ago.
Literally. Like it's so weird because I felt really grown up then, and I felt really just like accomplished and just like how can I get better, right? And then it's like
Uh,
fast forward 2 3 years later, and we're uncovering so much shit, getting better and better, and just like the
mhm.
work that we're doing on ourselves. And this is partly, why we wanted to bring you this podcast, but specifically Maddie being another health and fitness coaching, and you can talk about yourself, is the reason why I was like, if I'm ever going to do a podcast with a co-host, it has to be somebody that gets the vibe. And you do.
Mhm. I do. I almost said unfortunately, not unfortunately. Fortunately.
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah, so I'm also a women's health and fitness coach, specifically focus on teaching women how to lift, get better at lifting, getting stronger, more empowered. And where was I going with that? My brain just went boop, stop. But yeah, me and Allie actually was like the reason this started because I was like, I don't have enough time. Like, I can't do a podcast too. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, thankfully, she had a podcast before this and kind of knew like the tricks of the trade, how to like put this together. So we divide and conquer and get this put together. And I love it. Like, I love having a space where we like to think we are, creating this community for women to become more empowered about their health. And they're not listening to, now today's a deep dive episode, but they're not listening to someone say like, this is how much food you should be eating. This is how you do a fat loss phase. Like, we're so much deeper, and we've gotten such good feedback about this podcast already, like the stuff that we've shared with our own mental health journeys and our fitness journeys and just like life and how we navigate different things that happen with ourselves and with our clients. We love to share that here. So it's been super fun. And our first of the month episode, we're usually doing like our goals and things that we were working on last month. We have a guest episode that's always the second Wednesday of the month, and we bring in different health and fitness professionals. We bring in people that we just think are really interesting. Like, we have some really cool guests lined up for 2025. One being a dating coach. So that's, not necessarily health and fitness, but it's one we're intrigued to talk to. Girls can, benefit from hearing those things. And then we do deep dive episodes like today, where we're talking about kind of like hot and popular things. We did one on Herbalife that got a ton of good feedback. So if you haven't listened to any other episodes yet, I would definitely recommend go back to last month's deep dive. It was a two-parter, a lot of information in there. But just we like to dispel the kind of how gross the health and fitness world can be, while also empowering you guys to make better decisions for your health and empower you to make a decision for your health as well.
Yeah. And with this deep dive, we're doing powdered greens today. There is not as much research as you would imagine, or the articles that you find on like PubMed, NIH are so nuanced that a lot of people myself included, are going to feel overwhelmed with that. And Gen Pop, if you're, if you're listening to this, you're considered Gen Pop, you're probably not fully aware of like what goes into the greens powders or why they might not be as beneficial as you think. But we wanted to cover this because if you go on TikTok, Instagram, anywhere, you are seeing so many people drinking specifically Bloom Nutrition
Mhm.
greens powders is all over TikTok. Everybody and
Mhm.
their mother is like sponsored by it, but you can also get it at Target. So like it's not super exclusive. And
Mhm.
when you see so many people like doing one thing, to me it's like I'm going to raise an eyebrow because I'm seeing so many
Mhm.
walks of life using this one product and it has all these amazing benefits. I'm going to be a little apprehensive. But before we go into the deep dive, we want to just, we do a little recap. We have a new segment called The Hot List of Hate.
Mhm.
And honestly, iconic. Maddie came up with she, tweaked this little segment, came up with the name Iconic Queen. So Maddie is fired up. Who is on your hot list of hate this week?
Okay, so one of them is from one of them is from
Buckle up.
Southern buckle up. One of them is from Southern Charm. So I am on season 8 of Southern Charm, and Catherine Dennis, is that her last name? Is dating Caleb Ravenel. And it was kind of interesting if you've never watched Southern Charm. It is these people that live in
Hmm.
Charleston, and they all have varying levels of wealth. Some of them don't work. Some of them are working every day. It just depends. And they're like always partying and drama. And like I love reality TV because like it's unpredictable in a way for me. So I can't get bored in a way. And I just
Yeah,
love I thrive on people's drama because I'm like, ha, no drama in my life. And then I watch theirs. I'm like,
literally.
it's amazing. So anyway, Catherine is dating Caleb and she's having issues with him because he is emotionally stunted, like many men, and he like can't express his emotions, and that's where she's like suffering in the relationship. And the scene that killed me, and now we know with TV they can like cut out specific parts to make it look like something happened versus what actually happened. But Caleb is talking to, I think, his cousin. I can't remember his cousin's name, Chelsea, I think, and it's a dude, and he's saying like, I just Catherine wants me to show more emotion. I just don't know how to do that or if I can do that. And Chelsea goes, "Whoa, I don't know, man. Like, you just got to ask yourself, is it worth it?" And I literally was like, is it worth figuring out how to express emotion? This is where we're at with men. Now, this was probably 2021-ish when this was being said, but we know this is an epidemic for men. But like, is it worth it? That's like literally him. Let's say Catherine was like, I hate your hair. I want you to dye it. Do you mean like, is it
Hmm.
worth that? It's not. Is it worth learning how to express fucking emotion? I
Yeah.
was like, and I
Yeah.
look at Joel, my husband, and I was like, this is the crux of everything. Like, is it worth it? I literally wanted to like throw my freaking remote at the TV.
It's one of those times where you just have a chronic eye roll because you're just
Yes.
like, are these men real? Is this a real conversation you thought up in your brain and said, this is a good response? Is it worth it,
Mhm.
man?
Now,
Do you want to
they
live alone for the rest of your life and like have an
right.
unfulfilling relationship? What? I can't. Honestly,
I
live
know.
for
And
it
like
though. Live for it.
live for. And like I was thinking thinking back to like how much we know about the body and we aren't expressing emotion, how that can be expressed through other ways, like disease, like
Sure.
symptoms, things like that. I mean, it all comes back to like, is it worth it? Like it very much is worth it, obviously, for the health of the relationship and fostering new relationships, but also your own health. Like if you have trouble crying, emoting, like expressing things other than like anger, like it is very worth it to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, literally me. I texted Maddie last night. We're going on vacation. And I was like, I am literally, every time I leave the cats, I bawl my eyes out. Like, not afraid to cry. People that have trouble crying, I'm like, I don't get you. And I peace
Mhm.
and love, let's work on that. And so in this case, he is also on my hot list of hate because what the
Yeah.
fuck? Like, men that don't know how to express emotion, and women for that matter, because there are definitely
Mhm.
women that don't know how to express their emotions. Let's work on that. In 2025, let's fix that
Mhm.
because I just can't imagine talking to a friend and saying, "Is it worth it?" about a relationship. And it's not like
Mhm.
it's not like it's something trivial, like
No, like
a
changing your
haircut,
outfits.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your relationship. This is at the core. So
And this will
it's
affect every other
everything,
relationship.
everything. Oh my good. He's about to be saying in like 3 years to his friend, I don't know if it's worth it to, keep up this, friendship with you because I just, it's too much emotionally.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah.
good.
No. So that's numero uno.
Yes.
Um the second thing is my own personal battle, cellulite. Like
Oh,
why
okay.
like cellulite, like why do you have to appear? Like I understand you're losing collagen, like that's what gives you like the drag in your skin but
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, and then it's like this I had this like battle in my mind, like just accept aging. I'm like eliminate cellulite, like I'm doing and but the things I'm doing to help eliminate cellulite are just good for your body in general.
Right,
So,
right.
like, in my mind, I'm like, this is good for my body. Like, I should be doing it anyway. And by good for my body, like, I do red lighting on areas of my body. And that's good for like a cellular mitochondrial level. Like, we should definitely get like a red light expert on here. That would be fun. I bet you I could find one on threads.
Yeah, that would be super fun. And if you're unaware of like what red light therapy is, you probably know it in the form of like, if you've seen on TikTok, like people using the face masks.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
personally love my girl, use it every day. If you need like proof that something is actually beneficial for you, get a red light therapy face mask and you'll see your skin just like brighten and
Hmm.
change. And then you'll be like,
Hmm.
oh, maybe I should do this on like my whole body, because
Yeah.
people need a
Yeah.
way to get into something. And when you
Yeah.
see like your skin clear up, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a really easy way to get into it. So red light
Yes.
therapy, yes, add it to the list. We would need, that would be amazing.
I'll put I use Huga brand. I
Yeah.
did so much research trying to find a good red light because
Yep.
not knocking on yours at all, but I wanted one because for my yours is
Yes.
like
No, I,
face specific,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
I wanted one for like other areas of my body for my scalp specifically. So mine is like a huge panel, but I use
Panel.
Huga brand. Yeah, it's a panel. But I use the Huga brand, so I'll put my link if you guys want to use that. It's like I don't know, 15% off or something.
I want to
Um,
definitely get a panel because not to be like a trendsetter, but I got my red light therapy mask before it was cool.
you did, you
Okay.
did.
I did. And I was using that girl. And to be honest, I didn't even really know why I was using it. But my mom like bought it for me for Christmas because she had one. And she was like, oh my God, my um esthetician, facial lady, whatever.
Mhm,
She's like, this is such a great product. Your skin's already great. Like
mhm,
my mom has great skin. She takes great care of her skin. So
mhm,
she got it for me. And then I was doing it. And obviously I noticed a difference. But then I started like hearing more about the benefits. And I was like, see,
mhm.
Hallie, we knew what we were doing. But I need a
Yeah,
panel. I haven't invested in a panel. So maybe I'll put that on like my Christmas
and
list.
yeah, and Huga's super affordable.
Slay.
I got one to travel with. It's like probably like this big, only a couple pounds, but like it's still too big to travel with. So now it lives at my sister's house, and she does it
Love.
on her rabbits too. Yep, because one of them has some
Obsessed.
arthritis. I know.
Stop
Um,
it. Why
I
is that?
know.
It's like so sad, but also so adorable that she's like,
I
I
know.
am literally healing you, my baby
I
doll.
know. But
Oh,
it is has so many good benefits besides just boosting collagen in your skin. It has now it's like weird because like there's not a ton of research on
right.
red light, but the research that has been done has been all like very positive.
Yeah.
So but anyway, well, oh, so I use red
Cellulite.
light. yeah, on my skin. And then I do a lot of dry brushing. So those things and working out, walking, they're all good for cellulite. But like cellulite's just annoying. Like it also like I know
Yeah,
my genetics, they hold more fat in our legs. Like I that's just how it's always been.
me too.
It's like the best of both worlds, right? More fat in our legs and predisposed to holding fat in our stomach. Thanks. Like
Well, it's also like, part of that is like you can get like a juicy booty, like I feel like you have an
yeah.
easier time, but then it's like that
But
the in between of like I need shorts that are a little bit bigger on the thighs and a little smaller on the waist, and that's always a little bit hard to find. So I agree.
But let me tell you, I come from concave butts. My
Oh,
dad,
got that
before he
concave booty.
literally, so like people are like, oh, well, you're Hispanic. Yeah, but like no one has a big butt in my family, like literally no one. So, but yeah, those are my gripes. Like,
Well, we're just full of white people, and we've always like my mom was always like, oh, if you wear this, it'll make your butt look smaller. Cause like she's from the generation of like, you don't want a big butt. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
I agree with you, the cellulite. I'm adding that to my hot list of hate. And I feel torn because part of me is like, I have stretch marks because I had a really big growth spurt as a kid. Like when I hit
Mm,
puberty, I was like, I got my period, I think in fifth grade. And then I like hit, like I had a really big growth spurt. So like I just had stretch marks because I had a
mhm,
huge growth spurt. I've
mhm,
always had them. And so
mhm,
part of me really tries to embody like the self love, but also if I can do things that gets rid of cellulite and can kind of
mhm,
be like preventative and even just like with weightlifting in general, I'll go back and
mhm,
look at my progress pictures and you can see like cellulite and then where you fill out a little bit more. And
mhm,
it's not as obvious. So it's hard. I
mhm,
try not to hate on my body, but also if
mhm.
I can do something about it, I'm going to try everything.
I'm the same way. And you know what I've been doing with my like the way of thinking about things with beauty? I'm
Yeah.
like I'm not going to hyper fixate on things like
Mm,
that like really can't like that aren't going to benefit me in a way by working on it. So like
yep.
the stuff I do for cellulite, I'm not buying a cream to reduce cellulite, right?
Right.
I lymphatic drainage techniques like dry brushing, wood brushing, like that's good for your body in general. So
Yeah.
yeah, so like I'm not like I need to spend all this money on a cream. Like that's
Yep.
not going to help, you know? So
Yep.
that's why I've been like I will never get Botox because having a history of having autoimmune symptoms, like I just can't go down that road. And I feel like
Sure.
frownies, like I don't have lines. Like I feel like I've done pretty good. Like, and
Yeah.
that's from doing all the things that I do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's that. Those are my two things. What's on your hot list of hate this week?
So, one thing, my mom, that's a little toxic. Growing up, she would always say, if you eat melon, like cantaloupe, honeydew, it gets rid of cellulite. So me and my sister would, I don't know. She probably heard it on like,
Yeah,
walking at the checkout line at the grocery store,
Dr.
maybe
Oz.
saw it on some magazine. Like, I don't know where she heard this. But we would like devour melon because
Oh
yeah. So
no.
I genuinely still to this day have a hard time eating. Like I don't buy honeydew or cantaloupe. I'll eat it if it's like in a fruit salad, but I literally do not buy it because I'm like a little scarred. And
Mm.
I developed like I don't actually like the taste anymore because we would just eat it constantly. So you don't need to do weird shit like that. And I don't know
Okay,
where.
so I had to
Yeah.
look it up because I'm
Yeah.
like, is this a thing? And okay, there's a bunch of things. From the random things that I've found, it says there was some kind of melon juice extract can reduce cellulite on
Yeah.
thighs in some kind of study. But then there's other things: drinking water, physical activity.
Well, because it's like super hydrating. So I think that's probably where it comes from. You know what I mean? Like drinking the water
Mm,
aspect. But honestly, I don't know.
yeah.
Like that was literally in like the early 2000s. So like none
Hmm.
of this is like trusted information, right? It's just like, oh, I
Yeah.
saw it on
Yeah.
like fucking The
Yeah.
Doctors, which comes on at like 2 p.m. after Days of Our Lives. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But my hot list of hate, I'm super big into the YouTube world. I am a cusper. I'm a millennial, but I also am very much Gen Z. So I'm in my
Mhm.
YouTube days. We love her. Always have been. My hot list of hate is all these freaking creepy older men on YouTube that are so predatory to younger women, like specifically right now. Tana Mojo had come out and talked about how Cody Ko like hooked up with her when he was 25, she was 17.
I
She's
think he
processing this. He is on a stage in Vegas performing his little DJ heart out, hasn't said a thing. He might have said something like he left his, I think it's a production company, Tiny Meat Gang. He like left and they put out a statement saying he will not be moving with us like in the public space forward, but he's probably still getting money on the back end. Like it's disgusting. Stop being creepy and predatory. It's so weird. It's so creepy. And now people, a lot of guys on YouTube are like, well, you know, Tana, she'll do whatever. And they're like, they believe her, but it's like, well, it's Tana, so whatever. She's so problematic. She would do anything for a video. And it's like, take the problematic aside. You can be the most problematic person, but if you're underaged and you're like, you know, you don't know, you can't consent as a 17-year-old. You don't know the ramifications. And this creepy loser is 25, bringing frat boy energy. Like, ick, ick, hot list of hate, Cody Ko, and other freaky, disgusting men that are in the business of being predators.
is Cody Ko the person I've seen on TikTok where he's like they're in some kind of studio and there's like a cute girl like sitting and they're like podcasting a lot? Because I think that's her.
Tana?
She has no. The girl he was like doing that with.
Let me show you a picture.
Because I feel like I saw some podcast where it was this guy talking to a girl and she was like saying like the mom hired him to help her with something.
No, that's Cody Ko.
Oh
No,
yeah, thinking of a different predator.
he is super creepy. That is Zach Justice, who is also
Ah,
a creep. Yeah, his so in I forget Indiana, I think was her name or is her
yes,
name.
yes.
And her Indiana's mom hired Zach Justice to I don't even know what really. And they were like friends. They started, you know, doing videos together. And then when she turned 18, I believe he was like 28, 29, maybe. And they like got together. But it's like it's legal because she's 18. But it's like you knew her since she was 14, you freak. So be careful out there. And those are my people on the hot list of hate because what in the actual fuck?
Agreed.
Agreed. And with that being said, a second thing on my hot list of hate is greens powders. Nice little transition for you.
Uh,
So, I'm going to be talking about greens powders today. The way that Maddie and I do our deep dives is we switch off. So, we get to kind of teach the other person, and it's really fun that way. So I got a lot of my research from PubMed articles, NIH. I did listen to this one podcast. I'll link it below. And they had this research scientist. His name is Bill Willis. Um, and I want to back it up before getting into the efficacy of greens.
mhm,
I think it was in 2018, 2019 is when greens powders got really, really popular for some reason.
mhm,
Like the supplement market as a whole was like, we can really make money off of this product because there's already protein powders and BCAAs and fat burners and all of these sort of different products, but there wasn't a ton of like greens powders on the market. And
mhm,
I just remember being on Instagram and starting to hear about greens powders. And it was really popular because of how easy it was. Oh, you get your fruits and vegetables. It helps with bloating. If you eat a big meal, you can drink your greens after and it will just like get rid of bloating. And that is really popular, right? Everybody wants to feel like that instant like debloating, especially like after you've eaten like a massive cheeseburger, you can drink your greens and you're not going to be bloated. Like I remember seeing the weirdest posts around like this sort of stuff. Um,
mhm.
And I have certainly fallen victim to greens powders because I was scrolling on Instagram in college and I'm like, oh my God, I can, treat my body like shit, but then I can drink a greens powder and all will be solved?
Uh-huh.
So I was really interested to look into this because we see so many different products online. There's like Bloom, there's AG1, there's any supplement company you can think of, there is a greens powder. And what we talked about before on the Herbalife deep dive is that if you're not aware, supplements are not regulated.
Mm-hmm.
So supplement to supplement, greens powder to greens powder, they're completely different. If you did like a blind taste test, they're all going to taste so different, but they all have a lot of the same claims, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like reduce bloating, boost metabolism, gut health, more energy, all of these sorts of things. And you may experience some of these benefits like reduced bloating or more energy because maybe you're drinking more water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're having your greens twice a day or once a day, you're drinking more water. Two, maybe less bloating again because you're drinking more water. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
helping you go to the bathroom a little bit. But when we look at the actual research of it, there is not a whole lot to say how effective it is. And one thing you really need to be careful about with supplements, it's all anecdotal evidence, right? So I can talk about a product. And for me, let's say I find a greens powder, I think it's life changing. I can go and write a review. That has no backing behind it. That is just what maybe I experienced. And maybe when I started drinking the greens powder, I also started walking more, right?
Like a
Maybe I
placebo,
also
like.
started going to the gym because I'm like, wow, I feel healthy. I'm drinking my greens. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we look at the research, the consumer has to be really aware and practice discernment. So if you're looking at reviews, we have to take that with the tiniest grain of salt because that doesn't mean anything. Maddie could have a completely different experience than I have, right? Taking one product, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything about the product. Again, it's just either the placebo or what else we've done when we paired drinking our greens, like again, with a walk or the gym, etc. So to kind of give you an idea of what really why greens are not super effective, the biggest common criticism, and let me back it up, there is not a ton of research done that isn't backed, or a lot of the research done is backed by supplement companies. So right there is a big red flag, right? Because
Yeah.
aren't there haven't been crazy lawsuits. There hasn't been uproar because there's so many different greens powders. There's not a ton of research, but what we do see is these common criticisms. So with a greens powder, they're often compared to a multivitamin, right? They have different vitamins and minerals. They are not necessarily also regulated for how much is in it. So
Mm-hmm.
it could say all of these ingredients, but we're not actually completely aware. Like there's no transparency of how much
Mm-hmm.
is in it. That is why
Mm-hmm.
we can't say, that's why there's not a lot of like information to back it. Because again, if we look
Mm-hmm.
at a supplement company doing the research, we have to be like, well, they're researching their own supplement. Like this is sketchy. It's like you have
Mm-hmm.
to look for that third party. Like there's totally a bias there. And in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other situations, people would be like, oh, I can't trust this. I can't trust this study because it was done by like big dairy or big pharma. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But with supplements, I feel like it kind of gets brushed under the rug because Gen Pop is more swayed by other people's results versus the
Mm-hmm.
actual data because it is also hard to understand. But so on the podcast, Bill Willis was talking about his studies and what he was looking at with green powders. And to like start it off, we can understand that green powders are attractive because they're easy, right? If it says, one scoop of this replaces 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, and you're a busy person, you're a busy mom, you're somebody that doesn't like fruits and vegetables, you might be like, oh, hell yeah, this is
Mhm.
easy. I can get all my fruits and veggies in. Perfect. But again, it really is just like a vitamin, right? It's not the highest quality of food. It's missing compounds, and we don't actually understand what it's missing because there's not a lot of studies done. But if you
Mhm.
think about whole foods that go into a greens powder, they're just like dehydrating it and powderizing it. You're missing a lot of the components. Like, we don't necessarily know the bioavailability, like what you're able to actually get from it, right? If you eat a banana, we can study more of the bioavailability in a banana. But if a banana is freeze dried and put into a powder, or broccoli, we don't actually know all of what you're getting. Um, because one, it's not studied enough. Two, across the board, all of the supplements for greens powders are drastically different. So
Mhm.
even to look at one greens powder is not to look at all of them.
All of them. Yeah.
And it's
I want
similar. Yeah,
to
yeah,
I want to butt in real quick before I lose a couple thoughts. I was like,
yes,
when do I
yes,
interject?
yes. You're like, stop, girl.
Pause. Um, so it's funny because in my membership, they were asked like 2 questions for our Q&A last night. Like, when should you have protein powder and what do I think about greens? And I was like, oh, perfect. I'm going to wait till I listened to Allie's
Yeah.
dissertation on greens powders to talk about this. But I did kind of briefly say, like, even when it comes to, like you said, we don't know 2 things when it comes to greens, like where exactly they're deriving these ingredients from. They
Hmm.
don't have to say that because they're not FDA regulated. So they don't have to say, oh, this beet juice came from organic beets, right? It could literally be from like the grossest, dirtiest, thing. And then two, like you said, we don't know the amount. Like, it might say like, oh, it's 5% beet juice, right? And that beet juice is helpful for X, right? But how much does your body actually need to have an effect on it? Like,
Exactly.
how much is 5%, right? And
So
that's
it's
the
it's
same.
interesting that you say that, because
Mhm.
if we look at the dosing of most green
Uh-huh.
powders, it's usually 5 to 10 grams, like it's a little scoop.
Yeah.
And on most labels, a third of that 5 grams is wheatgrass.
Interesting.
So then the beet juice, broccoli, kale,
Yeah.
whatever else is in it is making up 2/3 of a 5 to 10 gram serving. Using just like logic, how the
Yeah.
hell could that be beneficial for my body at such a
It's
minuscule
it's like
amount?
micrograms, right?
Yes.
And when I was talking about last night, like how protein powders, when we talked about Herbalife last month, or when I talked about it, like they can bump up the price, and this applies to greens as well, because there are so many enhancements to it. That's not
Yep.
even counting, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, so that's not even counting the filler ingredients that are in
Yep.
there to take up space that are like complete shit for your body. But there's so many enhancements. They can say, oh, it has this, it has extra fiber, it has that. But a lot of times those enhancements are causing bloating, and they're such in small amounts, they're not really doing anything.
They're doing
So
nothing. Yeah.
the benefits and the transformation, so to speak, quote unquote, here, that people were seeing, it's because of what Ali talked about in the beginning. When like we said, I don't know how many times, or I say to my clients all the time when they're like struggling to get back on track, is like, if we do one good thing for our body, we're going to feel a little bit better, and when we feel a little bit better, we're going to keep doing that good thing, and then we'll add in more good things, so you feel good, you do good, and then that's where we get that amazing, positive cycle of, we just keep doing good things and we feel good. So that same thing although it's good, but that could be why people see transformations from greens, because they're like, it's putting them in a good mind. I'm doing this good thing for my body. I'm taking these
Yep.
greens. Now I'm more prepared to, I'm more wanting to do another good thing for my body. So a greens powder could lead them to walking 10,000 steps a day, eating more veggies throughout the day, X, Y, and Z. But it wasn't like this drink created this result. It just was like one of the hogs in the wheel that got you to a healthier body.
Totally. And we can see that in our clients. We can see that potentially in ourselves. I know back in the day, like in college, sophomore year for me was really kind of a wake up call because I was always somebody that was like a chronic dieter, really had a lot of disordered eating patterns. And then sophomore year of college, I was just like drinking a ton, smoking a ton, like girl gained a lot of weight. And it was like the last weekend, like before finals, spring weekend, I went to like put on jean shorts. I looked like a busted can of biscuits. Like I had a literal mental breakdown. I ended up just wearing a t-shirt dress, but I was like, you have treated your body like shit. No more. Like going into summer, like after finals, like we are making time for ourselves. And I definitely loaded up on the greens. I loaded up on anything that I perceived would help me feel better. And then going into junior year, I did feel so much better, but I started to have the wherewithal to be like, okay, like what do I actually really need? Like what has made me feel so good again in my body? And it was, not drinking as much, smoking, but, making sure that there was like maybe better snacks than just like eating like a shit ton of pizza, right? Like
Mhm.
crush a pizza. You don't need to do that, girl. You did not need to do that. So there is so many reasons why we might feel better or see a transformation, like you said,
Mhm.
and that's why we can't trust the anecdotal evidence again because it's
Yeah.
anecdotal.
Yeah.
It's me being like, oh, this greens powder was amazing. But what I'm not telling you is, oh, I also started walking 10,000 steps a day. I'm working out at least 3 times a week. I'm drinking more water, right? Like I'm regularly going to the bathroom because I'm doing all these other things. Yet in my mind, I am perceiving it to be the greens powder is the end all be all, right? And
Mhm.
that's not, necessarily your fault, but you're trying something new and then you're adding other habits. So your brain is like, must be the greens powder.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So going back to what we talked about with dosing and fillers and all of that sort of stuff. So again, if you look at a greens bottle, the dosing is like 5 to 10 grams. We talked about the wheatgrass. A lot of the times people want to see that green color, right? Like that green equals health. And green leafy vegetables are amazing for you. They're fantastic. Get your green leafy vegetables in. However, when we are looking at a powdered supplement, again, a supplement, it's bridging the gap. It is supplemental. It is
Mhm.
not meant to be the end all be all, right?
Mhm.
So if we look at the dosage, 5 to 10 grams, a third of that is wheatgrass. We don't know how many fruit and vegetables are actually going into it. What you're getting is probably very little. And then, Bloom and AG1 and a lot of other supplement companies will say there's probiotics and digestive enzymes and all of these other things. And we don't actually know if they've survived. Probably not, right? If you're looking at a
Mm.
probiotic, to have a high quality probiotic, it needs to be refrigerated. It needs to be in a dark casing. Like there's a lot of standards for high quality. And so if you're putting it into a powder and it's
Yeah, I
kept up
mean,
room temp,
how many times was it like pulverized like to get to
literally,
that, like,
literally. And so many
powder?
people will say, oh, I don't have processed foods. I don't do the junk food. I don't do highly processed foods. A greens powder is highly processed, right? We are
Yeah.
taking whole natural foods, freezing them, freeze drying them, grounding them, doing all different things. Maybe in some of the products, like I know I keep going back to Bloom, but like Alani, other ones, they have like flavored greens. So it'll be like mango greens. And it's like, I'm sure it's not coming from mangoes. It's probably some sort of additive to give it that flavor because greens powders don't taste that good, right? Like they don't taste good. And I think that's why people also think they're like the pinnacle of health because if something tastes gross and it's green, it's like, ooh, this must be healthy for me. I'm getting all the health right now.
Mhm.
And really, you're getting such a low dose, a low quantity.
Yeah.
Um, and when we look at superfoods, right? A lot of greens will also say it's packed with superfoods, probiotics, digestive enzymes. They're not at the effective dose, right? We have to look at
Yes.
the ingredient list. We have to say, okay, if you're not aware of this, if you look at an ingredient list, it'll say the first ingredient, and that's the most potent. So, again, going back
Mhm.
to what Maddie said, if there is a laundry list of superfoods and we see like beet at the end of it, we know that from the top of the list to the end of the list, beets is the least amount of what is in this product, but we can still claim that there's beets in it and there's these health benefits of having beets, but
Yeah.
how much is actually in that? Probably a very, I mean, if we're again, the dosing is 5 to 10 grams.
That's
How can
not.
we, how much can we even conceive? How much beet powder is actually in that if the dosing is so small, right?
I would argue that like the more ingredients are in something, like the less
Effective.
effective it is, you know. And that doesn't count for all products. I mean, there are
Right.
definitely some products I do use like with my health stuff that like maybe has like a handful of them, but they're from I would say like more quality sources.
Yep.
Like I'm not buying a greens powder. I'm buying something that like I have to have like my practitioner like
Yep.
prescribe to me, you know. So
Yep.
they're going to be more effective. They're a higher quality, more potent product. Um but yeah, like that beet juice at the very end, like yeah, that's a good point because they have like 0.00001% of beet
But it's
juice. Like,
still in
oh,
there.
it has all the benefits of beet juice and X, Y, and
Mm-hmm.
Z. And yeah, that's interesting.
Yep, it's still in there, so we can put it on the label because this is not FDA regulated. We do not have to disclose how much beet juice there actually is, even if it's literally 1 grain of powder. It's in there. Um, and going back to taking certain supplements for health benefits, I used to probably when was it? Maybe 2021. I was working on like lowering my estrogen and bringing up my progesterone.
Oh,
And I
same.
was it's the same. And you know what's so crazy? The coach I was working with at the time, like it ended up, long story short, it was a fail, right? Like it was not the time for me to be doing this. My nervous system was completely effed because I was diagnosed with a panic disorder in 2019 and I wasn't in a good place. Like, no wonder why my body, my hormones were crazed. Like, my cortisol was like motherfucking through the roof. And it was not good, right? Whoever I was working with probably shouldn't have advised me. She's like, oh, if you're drinking 3 cups of coffee a day, like we should definitely work on your hormones. I'm like, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Allie didn't advocate for herself. This is a journey where Allie learned to advocate for herself. But I
Mhm.
was taking a monstrosity of supplements. However, they were of the highest quality, right? Like when we're doing good things for our body, like in a way, like we're working with practitioners, they have to be prescribed. So I'm not anti-supplement, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes we do need things. Again, supplements bridge
Yeah.
the gap, but they're
Yeah.
not the end all be all. And we have
Mm-mm.
to practice discernment when taking certain products. Like one thing that is coming to the top of my mind, I would take chasteberry.
Mhm.
I don't think you can get it probably for cheap anywhere. Like, let's say maybe you
Amazon.
can. Yeah, okay, Amazon. I'm not going to take a chaseberry from Amazon because
Yeah. Yeah.
I am looking for the highest of quality. Same with I'm not going to drink Bloom Nutrition greens. If I was ever going to reach for greens, I would make sure it was of the highest quality, right?
Yeah.
Because just because something, is attractive. It has all these benefits. If that price tag is too low, I'm going to say, why is it so cheap? Right? If this is, it raises a red flag for me.
It does. And, I always say this when people ask, like, what supplements do you take? Because
Yeah.
I kind of like
Don't ask
categorize
me.
it. Literally, I categorize it in like two things. The health and fitness, I'd say performance versus like my autoimmune, like working on my
Healing.
hormones, healing. Yeah, that stuff, like, don't ask me about that because I've
Yep.
taken many, many things, but it was with a coach who's been helping me the way through. So, like,
Yep.
those ones don't count. What I take, I would say health or fitness performance wise, two different supplements. Ready?
Yep.
Protein powder and creatine. The two most researched things that do so many good things to your body,
Yep.
besides like creatine, people associate the most with like muscle
Yep.
development, but it has so much cognitive help that, like, if you're vegan or pescatarian, you should be taking creatine.
Yep.
And you can take such a low dosage and not have any like side effects. But I take two things
Yep.
for the fitness performance. That's it. They're both relatively cheap, whatever cheap means to you. I had the same bag of creatine for like a year now because it lasts like, I take literally one scoop, which is like
Yep.
2.5 grams on my
Yep.
workout days. That's it. But I would always recommend, like, I have clients ask me, like one asked me the other day, should I start taking collagen? Collagen is one of those things. It's like the research, maybe we'll have to do one episode on that eventually, but the research is conflicting. And I drink bone broth, like we make it from the cows we get, the beef bones we get from our farmer, so it's like very potent, like very like organic, pasture raised, all that good stuff. But like, I'm not going out and buying collagen all the time. I just have it because we have all these beef bones, like.
Yep.
But I'm gonna always go for the things that make the most sense, are the best like bang for my buck. Like pea
Yep.
plant protein is great. Creatine, so researched, is great. And that's
Yep.
really all I take performance wise.
There are about, oh gosh, I mean, maybe this has changed since I was in college. I feel like a boomer for saying that, but it was like 5 years ago. In one of my advanced like sports nutrition classes, we talked about like kind of like the top five performance
Mhm.
enhancing supplements, and one of the, or two of those being like a protein powder, a creatine, caffeine. Like
Yeah,
those
caffeine.
are the like, and then there was two others that like Gen Pop really doesn't need. Like those are more for, like high performance athletes.
Hmm.
But you can utilize simple kind of basic supplement and see benefits, right?
Hmm.
Creatine.
Hmm.
So much research on, and the like negative side effects are almost non-existent. Caffeine, also a really great supplement. And people know their tolerance, right? Like some people are not going to vibe with caffeine. Okay, so don't use it. Other people can use it as a tool, right? It can either, provide you a little bit more, I call it my brain
Focus.
fuel for the day. Or if you're going to go lift later and you're like, what, I'm going to have, I'm going to eat my breakfast. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. It's going to kind of, make me feel a little bit more boost. Love it. Um, a lot of benefits. But what is not on those lists is the BCAAs, like branched chain amino acids
Hmm.
or essential amino
Hmm.
acids or greens powders or fat
Hmm.
burners, which is really just caffeine, or
Hmm.
whoever the hell else, whatever else you're seeing like on social media, right? We really
Hmm.
want to be cautious about what we're putting into our bodies, because if you're new here or you did go listen to the Herbalife episode. If you have, go listen to it again. But those products were so harmful, and I'm not saying that all supplements are going to do damage like that, but we have to be careful about what we put into our bodies. And
Hmm.
with greens powders, with a lot of supplements, there is just this blindness because it's attractive. It's like, oh, I can use this and I can cut out some of my daily veggies. I don't like veggies. Perfect. I'll drink them. But going back to what is in them, and sometimes we don't know because a product will say it's a proprietary blend. So then they definitely don't
Mm,
have to disclose what it is. And if you see a
yeah.
proprietary blend, run from it, right? We want to know what's in it. And a proprietary blend does not have to disclose that. And they're also attractive because what I find is a lot of like straight sized women, women that are like toned, they're fit, they're drinking greens powders. So women that want to lose weight, that want to tone up, that want to be stronger, that want to reach a goal, they're like, I must need that because
Mm-hmm.
you're drinking it and you are kind of what I want to look like, right? Or at something
Mm-hmm.
close to that. So, with a lot of supplements and green powders in general, we want to be careful. Now, there are some people that could probably benefit from it, right? Like if you are like there was some research done for cardiovascular health. If you're somebody that's like a smoker, doesn't work out, has a very sedentary life, eats, pizza, drinks a lot of beer, you might benefit from a greens powder because if that's the only way you're getting in some sort of nutrients, okay. But
Mm-hmm.
again, when we look at what greens powders are, they're more comparable to like a multivitamin. And if you're not fueling your body with good whole foods, a multivitamin, a greens powder, it ain't gonna do shit, right? It
It's
really,
like the cherry on top, right?
yeah.
Because we could say in the same breath, if that's your lifestyle, smoking, eating shit, treating your body like shit, you would benefit so much more from just like reducing smoking, going for a walk.
Right.
There are so many things that we can do. But yeah, sure, that might propel you to move in the right direction. That might help a little bit, but like, treating your body like shit's not an excuse to use a greens powder.
Well, of course, but there will be some, if you have a parent that is like so stubborn and like they're not changing their lifestyle habits, right? You
Yeah.
might be like, "Oh, you know what? Let them drink a greens powder. This might help them." Maybe, but really probably not.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's a cherry on top. Like it's a cherry on top of a shit sandwich. Like
Yeah.
it still tastes like shit, right?
And I was even thinking about like the kind of the when you think of greens powder, I really do think of like a TikToker influencer, like just like, toned Lululemon, like
Yep.
has always been skinny. And I also think about how I think there was like a time when it came to influencing where people were not disclosing if it was an ad or not.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
I think
That
of
was a
I think
problem.
of I think of Alex Earl, how I believe she did that. I'm not sure if she said it was an ad or not because I don't follow her, but she had Bloom in the background. Like it was like product placement in a way.
So with
And
TikTok, I think you used to be able to put it in the captions. You could kind of hide it. Now I believe it either
you
has
have
to
to
be visible in the first line or you have to put it actually on the
visually,
video.
okay. But what I was gonna say is that, where people see that, like I even saw her do an ad, a paid ad for
Some workout thing.
yes, and yes, so that between that and the bloom, and people are, I want to look like her. Well, first off, she probably looks like that because of genetics, because like her whole image, and this is not to bag on her specifically, this is like in general, like a lot of times people like she's partying a whole bunch, she's eating shit, like that was like her
Yeah.
kind of character, and then
Her
talking about the
brand.
character,
Yeah. Like
her brand, yeah.
messy, like hot
Messy,
messy. Yeah.
yes. And, like, she doesn't look that way because she's working out, like, one time in her life. Maybe she's working out a lot, I don't know, but that wasn't her brand. Working out with one time with that app and then using Bloom, right? That's majority genetics, right? And that's how
Well,
they
I'm also apprehensive to say this, but if you look at a lot of, and I'm not saying Alex Earl, I'm just saying if you look at a lot of girls that do a lot of partying and drinking and they live in big cities, maybe they allegedly are visiting the ski slopes.
oh, cocaine?
Yes.
Oh, should we have to blur that word out?
No, I don't think so. I wasn't
Oh.
saying.
Oh, I wasn't
Maybe, I don't know. How are you partying and staying so
yes.
skinny and eating like
Yes.
shit?
But
I don't
now
know.
here is where we can bring in our discernment, right? She has talked about her really bad acne.
Yeah.
No duh. No duh. Her lifestyle is so shitty. Of course, it's coming out of her skin. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when I think of like Bloom, I literally think of, or Greens, I literally think of like those influencers, and they're, oh, I want to
Yeah.
look like them.
Yep.
They only look like that because of maybe genetics, or because they're barely eating anything. Maybe they're taking drugs. Maybe they're getting lipo. I mean, and then their life, they're really not that healthy. They're
Yeah.
struggling with their skin. I see so
Yeah.
many people struggle with their skin, and that's a
Yep.
product of your lifestyle behaviors and deeper gut issues that
Yep.
freaking greens is not going to
The
fix.
greens do not fix. They claim they do. They definitely don't. If greens powders fixed gut issues, every
I would gotten
every
healed real quick.
mofo around here who had
That's
gut issues would have been solved. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like if I had, and I said this in a TikTok, if I had a penny for every video that I saw for like people being like, oh, I take this greens powder because it really helps with my bloat when I'm traveling. And because I eat a lot of food out, it helps with my gut health. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And
No,
going back, I
no.
know we sound like broken records, but going back to the dosing, 5 to 10 grams is minuscule. And if there is a laundry list of ingredients, that makes it even worse
Yeah.
because we know that if this dosing is like this small and there's a list this big, what is actually in this product? What am I actually consuming? Because I have no idea. Um, there's not, again, the testings going on that we would want to see. They can have some green powders have been known to have dangerous amounts of heavy metals, right? They're saying there's probiotics and digestive enzymes. Well, that's cute to say it. Maybe they're in it, but did they survive? Probably
Mhm.
not. So,
Mhm.
my God, my cat is like pounding at the door. He's like, I hear you, mom.
Let me
Literally
in.
psycho. But it just, this is why we like to do the deep dives because we want you to take a look at what maybe what type of content you've been consuming, right? If you're thinking, oh, I've been seeing all these people that I follow and they are drinking their greens and they are saying how much energy it gives them, and I feel so sluggish, maybe I should try it. Maybe not, right? Maybe just take a
Mhm.
step back, put the phone down and say, okay, do I move my body daily? Do I drink water, right? Do I eat
Mhm.
vegetables? And if we're not doing those, then we can safely say you don't need a greens powder.
Agreed. And if you ever see me and Allie slinging greens on our profiles, you can unfollow.
Yeah,
We will.
big, big
I. I.
unfollow.
I will never do that. It's just again back to everything we said, and I'm going to use things that actually are effective for
Yeah.
my body.
Yeah. And if you, like myself, have fallen victim to greens powders in the past, that's okay, right? Me and Maddie have done some crazy shit in the past
Mhm.
before we knew
Mhm.
better, before we educated ourselves. And that's why we're here because maybe you guys are like, I'm not down with the science, but I'm trying to learn. We are here to bring you that because it just ain't it. A lot of the extra stuff that is out there, different supplements, different products, it just ain't it. You don't need it. You can do other things for your health. Like Maddie was saying, going back to the cellulite conversation, there are probably a crap ton of cellulite creams, right? Toning, lifting, blah, blah, blah. When you can do things that are actually beneficial, like with lymphatic drainage, dry brushing, potentially using a red light panel, right? But if you're not even ready for that, you can just drink more water, start working out, right? Like there are,
Mhm.
I kind of call it like there's foundational habits that need to be put in place before
Yes.
you can do the fun stuff or the fancy
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree. So that, what greens is on that hot list of hate. If we have a running list, we should create a running list so that like at the end of the year, we shout out our hot list of hate. You know who
Oh
you
my
are.
god. That's gonna be a lot. I mean, we are
Yeah.
starting this in, like, August. We
Yeah.
started, yeah, for the first week of August, so but yeah. But no, that was great. I really thoroughly enjoyed that.
And it was hard because the amount of information, like the questions I want answered, are very hard to find because the lack
Mm,
of research that's done. If you look at the research, it's mainly done in clinical settings for cardiovascular patients or different things.
mm,
Like it's hard to find that info because there's just not enough funding around it, or it's all done by supplement companies. And it's like, what? Like, I
I wonder
can't
I
trust a
wonder what
supplement company.
literally. I wonder that's like big pharma like talking about, "Oh, this medicine is amazing." And like they hide the fact like,
And like you look at
50%
the
died.
bottom and it's like funded by Big Pharma. You're like, of course you think this is
Literally.
amazing. Duh.
We're not gonna talk about people that died taking it.
Literally.
Literally. What was I gonna say? I wonder what the I always like to know like the cost or growth of things. Did you see anything about like how much the green supplements, like their amount of revenue or anything like that?
When I tell you the amount of information that was unavailable, like if you,
Mm,
started with Google and put like peer-reviewed articles. I got a couple, but then when I go over to NIH or PubMed, they're not talking about the financial aspect, right? A lot of the articles
yeah.
went off graphs. And then if you just plainly search like um, anything with green powders and you don't put, even if you do put peer review articles, if you don't directly go to like NIH or another, journal,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's all sponsored ads and products and everything. And that is what I found frustrating because I wanted to know more juice. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, all of these companies just push out paid ads and they work on their SEO on Google so that you're bombarded with the product and it makes it harder to find the information.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that's where not a lot of people are going to go. A lot of people don't have time to spend researching and going down articles and all of that sort of stuff to find out if a supplement is credible. They're just going to follow their favorite influencer or fitness
Yeah.
influencer and be like, oh, they're giving it the green light and I trust them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That was great.
Yeah. It was
I'm thinking
definitely fun. I was like, I was getting frustrated, but then I was also like, wait, this is juicy. And then I was getting frustrated because I was like, I'm learning more and I'm getting so frustrated for these
the
women that
consumer.
again fall victim to it because of
Yeah,
people on fucking TikTok slinging Bloom nutrition.
I agree. I'm thinking about our next month. Should I say what it's going to be? Our next deep dive?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because my turn next month. I think I'm going to do Bikram yoga and all the insanity
So
with Bikram
excited.
yoga. And that might be a two-parter, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like there might, depending on like what direction I take it in, because there's so much with the man that quote unquote created Bikram yoga and all the abuse that he gave he what's
Dealt
not
out, abuse people he abused.
dealt. Yeah,
I
the
don't
woman he
know.
abused, maybe men
Yeah,
too, I don't even know. And just the enterprise of it. I'm pretty sure we watched a documentary on it, but
there
it was like
was. Yeah,
yeah, it was a long time ago, so I might have to rewatch that to get some more ideas. But yeah, I want to do Bikram yoga for next month deep dive.
yeah. That I know very little. I never watched the documentary. I heard about it on a podcast and I was like, "Oh, I should watch that." And I never did. So I will not so that I am totally I go into it blind and then maybe after you talk about it I'll probably be so intrigued and I'll go back and watch the documentary. Um but yeah, yeah, that I found I like doing these deep dives because not only do we learn a little bit deeper,
Mhm.
we get to share this type of information and we speak from a place of integrity, right? We're not going to talk about this on here and then behind the scenes go and, make a greens powder drink.
How funny would that be?
That would be psychotic, and some people are definitely doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
100%.
I agree. Well, anything else you want to close her up with?
Um, we are almost at our year episode. So if you are new here, it's going to be fun. I'm super excited for that
Yes.
episode. And when this comes out, I am running a free challenge. It's called Simplifying Results. It is a 10-day free challenge, and I'm going to break down for you how to get the overwhelm out of starting a fat loss and fitness journey. There's going to be 10 days worth of learning. And I'm super excited because when clients first come to me, oftentimes they don't know where to start because that feeling of overwhelm like keeps you frozen and stuck. And so we actually work on getting out of that frozen place and then giving you a push to be like, okay, this is how we can start seeing results. This is what we actually need to do versus again going on TikTok and getting stuck because you see your favorite creators have like banging bodies and you're like, I could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super excited. I'll put the link below.
Love. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching Kind of Hot, Kind of Healthy. Please make sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this with your girlfriend. Share this episode. I know there are some of you watching this who have tried greens, know someone that tried greens.
Currently
Share
drinking
this.
a greens.
Drinking greens and listening. No shade, like we said. Like we have had done stupid stuff with our health before, so we get it. Share this with your girlfriend, send to and be like, listen to this because you're gonna stop spending money on something that is not effective.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere where you can stream podcasts. If you have a burning question about life, friendships, health, and 1 or 2 cents, email us at kindahotpod@gmail.com. That's KINDAHOTPOD@gmail.com. Bye.
Bye.